gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 338. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by resident old bastard, Chris Saturn.
Now that I know that you can't hear the woo, it's weird.
I actually heard that one.
Oh,
it was kind of straight. Just the very end of it, it was like, ooh. Like right there at the end. As far as housekeeping, this is the last Retro Warriors of the year.
That we're recording of the year. For people who listen to the regular feed, this is the second one of the new year. Or third
They're done after January? Yeah. No, this is our last recording session of 2021.
Yes.
I also want to say that this is my 8th or 9th podcast in the last 21 days.
Cool. Yeah.
So my voice is kind of not,
You're
not
fine.
doing great. It's
fine.
a lot of hours of podcasting.
We just spent like 10 minutes talking about ugly merchandise. You're fine.
And secret behind the scenes spoiler, I'm not this expressive off the air, so it's a little bit of voice strain on me.
Yeah, me too.
So it's, if I sound a little rough.
The morning after we record, I always feel like I have a sinus infection just because of how much I talk during the show.
It gets really, honestly, I mean, we're getting old. We should start doing like vocal warm-ups or something before these, because I mean, it's 3-4 hours of talking. Like, that's a lot, man. That's a whole lot.
Getting old.
I mean, looking at you.
Sure, yeah. I've been old for a little while now.
I'm getting old.
Yeah,
if you're old,
right?
You can just be old.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Thank you. I appreciate that you're allowing that.
It's our last show of 2021. We're going to be on our holiday break after this. So hopefully these last few episodes have been enjoyably frantic. So the next episode is going to be hopefully pretty back to normal.
Yeah.
And refreshed and exciting and new, and we're going to have a ton of news. So we're looking forward to, what do we get? We get a 3 or 4 week break, I guess?
Actually, I think more than that. I don't remember. We're getting a 3 week break, and we'll be back.
3 week break.
We're going to record again on the 7th. This episode comes out on the 10th. So the people who are just listening to the regular feed, there's going to be no break in this. You're just going to have a new episode next week. But for us, we're gonna be refreshed.
Yeah, and for uncut people, again, pace yourself. You're getting them all at once.
Well, at
Slow
this
down.
point, it's too late. You're already on the last episode.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, you're here. So welcome. You didn't pace yourself. You binged it. I told you not to.
Right.
It's only going to be December 11th. What are you going to do for the rest of the month, man?
Right.
You got to think about these things, right? You got to think about it. just going to scold our listeners. My week.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone back to Shin Megami Tensei 5 after having a brief Pokemon hiatus. I'm still enjoying it. It's still fun. It's gotten a little more JRPG-y, it's got me.
That makes sense.
It's got me talking to characters, and I had to walk around to school and stuff. And I was like, and then it put me right back into crazy demons, doing crazy demon stuff. So I was okay with that.
That's good.
I will say, Pokemon's real good, because I'm playing it and I'm like, this is good. This is a good Megatin game. And then in the back of my head, I'm like, but I could just boot up Pokemon and just catch some more Pokemon. It'd be a good time too. But I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time with it. I'm kind of sort of getting to grips. It's a hard game. It's hard. I'm on easy mode and it's very hard. I've had to look up multiple strategy guides for certain things. I've gotten stuck on every single boss I've encountered for a little while. It's tough. It's not screwing around even on easy mode. I don't think it's insurmountable because of the complexity of the battle system. It's kind of one of those things where when you know how to do it and which demons to go get to do it, you're fine. You go out, you fuse, or you find these specific demons with these specific abilities, and you'll be okay. But figuring that out is hard. It takes some time.
Yeah.
Or just looking it up online, which is what I did.
Are you still also playing Pokemon?
I'm trying to. I have a hard time going back and forth on Switch games for some reason. I think it's because my Switch games aren't near my Switch. Because my Switch is handheld and I play it all over the house. So when I'm like, I want to get Pokemon, it's like, it's downstairs in the cabinet, or you know what I mean? And so it's not a quick, like, just pop a different disc in. I've also been playing Halo Infinite. The campaign mode just came out for Halo Infinite, which is I'm like 2 hours in on it, maybe. Which, granted, is probably only like a 10 or 11 hour campaign. They're not crazy long games, but it's real good. It's kind of a return to. It feels very Halo 1. In that it is a lot simpler of a game. Some of the later Halo games, they get a little wacky.
Yeah.
Which I guess makes sense when you've made they've made like 8 first-person shooter games and 2 RTS games and a top-down twin-stick shooter. There's a lot of Halo out there. And so it like by Halo 5, you're reaching this level of complexity that it's like narrative complexity and game complexity, and it all kind of stacks up, right? And this one feels very much like it evokes a lot of the feeling of the first Halo. It's like, all right, you're Master Chief, you're getting in firefights, and it's sandwiching firefights in story segments on one of the rings. Like that's what you signed up for, right? And so it's been good. It's felt like a decent return to form. The actual gunplay in the game is really good. It's got its standard kind of Halo story, which is like stuff with artificial intelligences being weird and aliens are there and you got to shoot them, and it's real bright and real colorful, and the soundtrack is just fantastic.
Nice.
So I've been really digging on Halo Infinite after getting kind of disenfranchised with the multiplayer.
Right, I remember you mentioning that.
Well, my issue isn't the free-to-play economy thing. I don't love that stuff, but it's benign enough. At least it's all cosmetic. My issue is that you can't pick the mode you play.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. That's weird.
Yeah, you go in, you're like, all right, I'm going to quick play, and it just puts you in. It's like, oh, you're playing Capture the Flag. Now you're playing Slayer. Now you're playing Team Slayer. Now you're playing, Ball. Now you're playing, and it's like, no, I don't like some of these modes. And they used to have playlists. So you would go in and be like, I'm going to queue up for this playlist, and it's these games on these maps, and you pick the playlist that you like. And they don't have that yet. And they said it's coming by the end of the year. Seems weird that it's not ready for the game's official launch, which was 2 days ago. Yeah. But hopefully that's coming, and that's going to alleviate some of my issues with the online multiplayer. I do also take issue with the fact that you can't play custom games with internet randoms. There's no server browser, which I guess there probably hasn't been for a couple games. Very few games still do server browsers, but just the idea of like, yeah, I'm going to make a game that's like 10% gravity, rockets only, and open up a room and people can come play. That's not a thing, which is kind of frustrating to me. I also don't like that there are no, I don't know. It just feels like you don't have a lot of control over how you play it multiplayer, which is annoying to me because I really like having control over how I play games because I don't get a ton of game time.
That's fair.
But the campaign, man, if you're really kind of just wanting the simpler times of Halo where it's just Master Chief talking to a blue person in his head and shooting bad guys, it feels real good for that. And for all I know, the story pivots halfway through and goes totally fucking bonkers, which it's Halo, it probably does. Right. But I've been really having a good time with the campaign in that one. And that's about all I've been up to. What have you been doing?
I've had so little time for video games lately, but I was trying to remember the last recording session we had, so 2 episodes ago. Did I mention the Forgotten City?
I tell you, we recorded so many podcasts lately. Yeah. I don't know what day it is.
Right, I'm with you.
I don't feel like I remember it.
Yeah, so I'll mention it because I don't remember talking about it. So it showed up on Game Pass, and it was one of those things where they do those things for the reward bullshit thing on the Xbox, and they say, if you get an achievement in one of our top 10 games, we're going to give you 400 points or whatever. And that was one of their games that was listed, and I had heard online that it had a really good story. And I was like, well, I'll check it out. And I download it to my Xbox, and I start playing it, and there's just a lot of dialogue at the beginning as they're setting up the world. And I'm like, this is fine. And then it's first person, and that makes me upset. But it's, fine. There's supposed to be a story in here somewhere. It's hiding. I'm going to find it. And so I go through it, and the whole thing is like there's this like cursed city in Italy that all the people turn to gold back in Roman times, and there's a time portal, and you get sent back there, and you have to stop them from getting turned into gold or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get there,
pretty standard, pretty standard narrative. Yep.
Yeah, and you get there. And you start talking to people, and they start talking at you. And then I realized, oh, this is an adventure game. What did I do?
Oh, no.
There's no actual gameplay. I'm just supposed to talk to a lot of people. And then I looked at at that point, I was just like, well, now I just want to find out what the fastest achievement I can get is so that I can get out of this. And they're like,
right.
We'll start the game over. And I was like, oh, no, I don't want to go through all this. And they're like, but this time, say that you're a soldier instead of an archaeologist, and they'll give you a gun. And then just shoot this one guy, and the game ends. And I'm like, oh, perfect, I can do that. So I just got to that one guy.
They programmed in an action game in.
Yeah.
Where
you create a time paradox because the guy could never open up the time portal because you killed him.
There you go. Perfect.
So I did that.
You beat the game.
And then I beat the game, and then I turned it off. And so I'll never know what the real story was that I was supposed to have been able to find because, man, it just sounded like it was going to be a lot of talking at me with no actual gameplay. And
Saturn,
how much I
the
love
story
that.
is your experience. So I'd say you 100% of that in my book.
I got an achievement and I moved on. I feel like that was a good learning lesson to look at what genre a game is before I install it based on somebody's recommendation.
I've been playing a lot of Microsoft stuff right when it launches lately.
Yeah.
And so it's fun when every achievement you get is a rare achievement.
Yeah.
It feels very sasatisfying. You get the special, it's like, but bling! Yeah. And the diamond comes up and you're like, I'm special. And it's like, finished the first level. You're like, oh yeah, it's launch day. Right. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's also fun when you find a game that is so unpopular that every achievement is a rare achievement. And you do the things that are really easy. And it's a game that's like 3 years old, and you just did something pretty easy, and the little diamond pops up. And you're like, I guess nobody got past the title screen on this one.
Yep, no one liked this one.
Right?
Let's do the news. Yeah. First up, Banjo Kazooie is coming to Nintendo Switch Online.
Yes.
May already be out by the time people are listening to this one.
Yeah, that's true. I think it is releasing in January. I didn't remember which day in January, though. But no, that's good. It's good that Microsoft is still willing to play ball with that kind of stuff and allow that to come to Nintendo's online service.
Yeah, for sure. And they've been pretty congenial with Nintendo lately, so it's nice to see companies not just wanting to murder each other.
Right. Over profits.
Yeah. Also, the Game Awards happened.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is kind of on theme for our topic this week. So I did want to mention them. Man, they were embarrassing.
They're really embarrassing. I can't decide what the most embarrassing part was. Jim Carrey's pre-recorded message, or Keanu Reeves' message, or Jeff Goldblum advertising Raid Shadow Legends.
I didn't watch I wasn't gonna watch it, and everyone in the server was like, hey, we're gonna have a watch party, we're gonna watch it together, and I was like, it's gonna be embarrassing, and I was like, well, if everyone's there, I'll tune in, I'll watch it.
Yeah. It was so bad.
And first of all, in the pre-show, they were giving away awards.
Right. Yeah, they did that the last 2 years too.
And they piped in fake clapping for it?
They did, and it was great because you could see the audience behind the girl, and they were not clapping until the fake clapping started, and then they looked like they were awkwardly trying to start clapping. Oh, it's hilarious.
They gave out an award, a big award. Like, the show hadn't even started. They're in the pre-show. They're just showing commercials.
Right.
And then they're like, hey, award for best sound design. Yeah. And the guy comes out to accept it, and you can see the audience clearly in the background, and you hear clapping, and you're like, they've piped in fake clapping noises.
Yeah, I pointed that out real early in our chat because of how dumb that is.
And then Deathloop gets nominated for every single category. True. Jeff Goldblum advertising Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah. Everything's powered by Verizon 5G, True. And the whole set looks like the opening scene to a James Bond movie. It's just fucking weird.
There was a lot of weird there, yeah.
It was weird, man.
A lot of commercials, though. I would say
Lots of commercials.
I would say it was probably a 29 parts commercial to 1 parts award ceremony.
Well, what bothered me is I've come to terms with the fact that it's going to have reveals and commercials.
Right.
Whatever. I think it's annoying. I'd rather focus on the art and the games.
Right.
And
which they would not rather focus on that.
But whatever. What got me was they did one award at the beginning, and then they did literally 30 minutes of commercials, reveals, trailers.
Hold on. They started talking about the second award at the 29 minutes and 30 seconds mark.
And then at 29 and a half minutes, they slammed out like 6 awards in a row.
No, they did one other award that they presented the normal way, and then they slammed out 6 in a row, and then they went back to commercials for half an hour.
Yeah, so it's like some of these awards, you're getting fake claps and nobody sees you because you're not on stage because you're in the pre-show. Other awards, they have celebrities come out and they bring you on stage and you can give a speech. And then right after that, they're like, also, best category is this, and then this, and then this, and then this. Anyway, here's a new reveal.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Well, hold on, man. Can we talk about the art and the awards and stuff?
It felt like for all those speedrun awards, they were always like either backstage or they were on that little side stage. They weren't on the main stage revealing them to everybody. They were just like, let's talk about this over here real quick. Let's not distract from all the ads over there.
It just felt fucking like breakneck hectic, but then also nothing was happening.
Right.
You know, it feels like you're running full speed into nothing. What is going on?
I did that a lot as a kid, which probably explains some things.
Persona 4 Arena Ultimax was announced for PS4, Switch, and PC at the Game Awards after them.
They hyped it up too. They're like, you're not going to believe this reveal.
They're all stoked, and then they're like, world premiere. And then Teddy comes out. And we had a Persona fan in the chat that was like, oh my God, Persona. And then they're like, we're going to re-release that game that's already out.
Yeah. And
welcome to Persona.
And what's weird is they announced it for PS4, Switch, and PC, not Xbox, but Persona 4 Arena is backwards compatible on Xbox One.
Just go get it now.
So you can play Persona 4 Arena. However, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax for 360, not backwards compatible.
Just bizarre. Also, Homeworld 3 was announced, which is exciting for RTS fans. Always good to see more RTSs. And King of Fighters 15 was announced. I forgot 14 came out. So that was really most of the stuff that was in our wheelhouses.
Yeah, they did announce a PC port of Final Fantasy VII-R, but it's locked behind EGS.
And they haven't said anything about the Xbox ports. So
as of now, there isn't one.
I'm kind of suspecting that, you know, Sony paid for the exclusivity. Now EGS is going to pay for a year of exclusivity, and we'll get an Xbox port in like 2 years.
Whenever the next one comes out. They'll just release them both.
Kind of means that I'm not going to play.
And a lot of people were saying, well, yeah, the EGS exclusivity is probably only 6 months or a year. But when you look back, Square Enix has done EGS exclusivity on Kingdom Hearts and on that second World Ends With You game, and those are still exclusive to EGS. They have not ever left to go to Steam. So I'm worried it's always going to be there. And also, when they showed the specs for FF7 PC, it's about on par with all of their PC ports of PS4 games. So that leads me to believe that this additional DLC that was PS5 exclusive could have worked on the PS4.
Yeah.
So why couldn't I buy it there?
It was DLC for a game that existed on the PS4. Right. It wasn't like extreme high fidelity DLC, Saturn. It was just more shit.
At the time, they were trying to say, oh, well, this DLC was designed around the PS5. We can't make this work on a PS4. But now they've made it work within the spec range of a PS4.
You didn't listen to the whole sentence. They said this was designed financially around PS5.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was their goal.
It just frustrates me that the DLC to a game that I already own is still locked behind platforms that I don't have. And I just want to be able to buy it so I can play it, but they won't let me, and that's frustrating to me.
Google is releasing a Google Play Games interface to allow playing Android games on PCs sometime in 2022, which is a feature Windows 11 was already touting, wasn't it?
Yes, and it is currently in beta on Windows 11. However, Microsoft's version of it will require the apps to come from the Amazon App Store. And
why?
Because that's who Microsoft has their partnership with.
Why the fuck? God damn it!
And
why?
Google and by
Google
extension,
makes Android.
Well, technically, Android makes Android, and Google just kind of owns it. The Android open source project announced that they were making a new container format for applications on Android. It's not going to be APK anymore. It's going to be this new format that is much harder to pirate. And the Windows interface will only support APK, which is the old format. And a lot of new apps and games are already not in APK. So
is Android just pre-fragmenting all the new markets it comes into now?
That's what I'm worried about.
Doing it after the fact? Is that what's going on?
That's my fear. But this, the fact that Google is announcing it means that all these games that wouldn't have supported the native Microsoft environment will support this environment. But my fear is a lot of the best games will still say, "Oh, we're not compatible with this." So
yeah.
But
I love the idea because there a lot of people are playing mobile games, and there's a lot of games I would like to play on my phone, but I don't want to have them stuck that I can only play them on my phone for forever. I like this idea of hey, this is just more accessibility for the games you already have.
And if it supports Google Play's cloud saves, then that means you can go back and forth between your phone. That's great. And also, I am excited about games like Valkyrie Profile and Final Fantasy Tactics that have good mobile ports that support gamepads being playable on a PC where you can actually see them. That's exciting to me.
And finally, Capcom and the Japanese police are introducing a new anti-drug campaign featuring Ace Attorney.
Yeah, sure.
What is interesting to me is my understanding is that Ace Attorney, the whole conceit of it is that it is making fun of the Japanese justice system.
Yeah. Also, isn't he a defense attorney? I don't remember.
Think so.
I think he's a defense attorney.
Also, I think Japan, and this is all hearsay. I don't know anything about Japan's legal system, but I have been told that one, it's making fun of the Japanese legal system and how ridiculous it is, and also the conviction rate in Japan is like 98%.
Yeah, it's pretty high.
Which it's I don't want to make any judgments on anyone's justice system, especially living in America. Trust me. But it seems just like kind of a weird. It's like the Catholic Church teaming up with Monty Python. You're like, hey, no, they're making fun of you, dude. You know that, right? But it's an anti-drug campaign, and so that's good. It's a good cause, I guess. Keep kids off drugs. So it is what it is.
I feel like Pope Francis is a pretty open guy. He probably likes the killer rabbit bit. I think he's a fan of that.
And that brings us to our topic at hand. This episode, last one of 2021, we're talking about 2021.
Yes.
The year. We do lots of year episodes floating around lately. 1997, 1994, and then 2021.
That's the only years that happened. So
it's the most important ones, right?
Those three. Just those three.
And this might be the last in review episode that we get to do where we're not talking nonstop about NFTs. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed video games as a medium because it's just going.
I don't believe that this will be the last year in review where we say, well, we all know that COVID fucked this year.
Yeah. Let's start with releases. Saturn, you very kindly went out and gathered a chronological list of games that we were both kind of either interested or played or talked about this year,
right?
That came out this year, and then I went in and just put shit in there non-chronologically. So this was previously chronological list,
right?
Now it is near chronological.
So it's a list of stuff, and we don't have to go through all this, but it's just to remind us of what we did see.
The Xbox ports of Yakuza 3 through 6 were this year, and I feel like those were big for you.
Yeah, because it was
a big chunk of your year.
Yeah, I didn't start playing Yakuza until this year, so all of that was very welcome because they came out right before I got to those games too. So that was very handy because I just finished up Kiwami 2 as 3 through 5 were released, and I was wrapping up 5 when 6 released. So that was all great timing, just in time for me to play through the entire series chronologically.
Yeah, for sure. And the new Ys 9 was this year, and you're a big Ys fan.
I haven't gotten to it yet, though.
I was going to say, I don't remember you talking about it.
I know, it's on my list of things I need to get to.
Yeah.
My giant expanding, because also Near Replicant I still haven't gotten to, and that was this week.
Oh man, I had like Replicant pre-ordered and I canceled because I was like, I don't have the time.
It looks so good.
Speaking of not having the time, Disgaea 6 came out and I've still not gotten to play that. I played 5. I like maybe a dozen hours of it. Like, it just, man, those games are they're like 100-hour games. You know, and I just, God, I wish I had the time. Right. I wish I had the time and the focus.
Well, one thing that we did both play that came out this year was Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection.
Which, what a great reboot of a great franchise. We did a whole episode on. I think we both really enjoyed the game. I keep meaning to go back to get, like, in air quotes, the true ending or whatever.
I saw it on sale on my Xbox, and I almost bought it again just so that I wouldn't have to turn on my Switch.
I will say, as positive as we were on it, and I feel like we were pretty positive. I feel like I was a little more positive than you, but I think we both still really enjoyed it. Have not gone back to it, have not thought about it until I saw it on this list, not one time. So it's interesting how that goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Tony Hawk's Pro Skater remasters came out this year.
Yep, that's true.
And were they this year?
That was this year.
Are you sure? Because I feel like I got it. Someone got it for me for my birthday.
Well, it showed up on my list of things from this year. Let's see.
Now I feel like it was 2020.
Maybe it was just on some platform it came out this year.
Yeah, I think it came to a different platform.
That might be the case.
Because I think it was...
It does look like it was PS4 and Xbox One last year, and then the new platforms and Switch this year. So that was my bad.
Because this is also the year that the Activision stuff happened, and I did not play much of that.
Well,
Monster Hunter Rise was a big one for me, though. Played that this summer. I keep meaning to get back to it. What a really great game. I've not been going back to that one and playing it because I think what interests me about these year in review episodes is what are the games on these lists that we were excited this year that we played that we're still going back to and we're still playing, we're still interested in, and which ones are like Ghosts and Goblins where we're like, that was really good, you should play it, bye. Like,
well, I think a lot of it is just there's so many games that come out these days compared to when we were younger, and we could actually focus on a game and still replay it regularly. But now there's just so much coming out.
Got all these games these days. Back in my day,
I don't have time to go back and revisit games nearly as much as I used to.
Speaking of shit that I feel like we should have been excited about and talked about more, Wonder Boy Asha and Monster World came out.
I did pick it up, and I've not played it yet. It's on my list of things I want to get to, and I haven't.
That one people were kind of middling on.
And part of it is that I got it on my PS4, and I've barely turned on my PS4 since then.
Yeah, well, don't do that. Yeah, I mean, it's wintertime, and I'm sure your apartment's cold.
It's true. Well, no, it's 80 degrees outside today.
Oh, yeah, it was 80 degrees today. But, in the future.
Yeah, when it starts to cool down, maybe I'll start turning on the PS4 more often instead of buying firewood. That's a good idea.
That's good.
R-Type Final 2, that was a good one.
Yes, that's one. Are you still going back to that one?
Yeah,
is that one that is?
It is floated in and out of my Xbox repeatedly over the last several months, and I still enjoy it. I don't think I've gotten very far in it just because it's R-Type and it gets just as brutally hard as you would expect. But I'm still enjoying it. It's good.
Yeah. Resident Evil Village was also this year,
and So like I've gotten a decent chunk into it, more than I expected to, honestly. And I love the aesthetic. I love what I've seen of the story so far. I love the world design is great. The action feels good. And I just constantly keep getting lost and confused and disoriented because it's fucking first person, and I wish they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And that's my only complaint.
Legend of Mana Remastered came out. Did you? I feel like you started that and then didn't love it.
I didn't get around to that one yet. I didn't even buy
Sandra,
that one.
Did you play any games?
I didn't buy that one.
Let's talk about games we did play then.
Yes.
Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters, I feel like have been real big for you this year, and kind of big for me because I played through Final Fantasy 3 on them.
I played through all 5 of the ones that have released this calendar year. No ETA yet for 6, but I am very ready for it. So those were a big part of this year for me. I did. It was nice to revisit all those games and see what they changed. As somebody who has played every port of all of those games to date, I always appreciate what has changed, and these changed just enough weird things in weird ways that I got to comment on it.
Yeah. Now and now that we've gotten some distance on them, it's been a little while since the last one came out. You've played all the ones that are out. How are you feeling as far as are these the definitive versions of these games?
Well, first, I think that it is hard to lump them together because they all change different things from their source material, that they feel like a very incoherent collection. Like, they have some things that are very uniform between them. Like, they have a very similar visual style. They have very similar menus. They have very similar interface. But as far as how similar or dissimilar they are from the originals, they vary widely. 1 and 2 are pretty much the GBA games, just made a little bit easier and minus all the new features. 4, also close to the GBA game, but made way, way, way easier. 5, similar to the GBA game, but missing all the new stuff and also not easier at all. So it's a strange mix and match.
It's like Square Enix is resistant to making definitive versions of things.
Right.
Just in general.
It's very strange. I do recommend them all so far, and I think of the versions that are currently available of these games, these are great. But they're all just so odd that I can't say they are definitive, but I can say that they are definitively decent ways to play these games if you're after an easy way to get to them.
Cotton saw kind of a weird resurgence this year.
A lot of re-releases and reboot and
Magical Girl Cute 'em Up.
Yeah.
They've come out with like 3 or 4 different Cotton games at this point. Some of them re-releases, some of them collections. Cotton Reboot I think was the new one.
Right.
But in really kind of shmups in general, between like R-Type and Cotton.
Yeah.
Those are pretty notable shmups.
Yeah. One that you skipped that I want to mention is Super Bomberman R Online. Came out this year.
This is the 64-player one, right?
Yes, that was originally Stadia exclusive before coming to everything else.
Before coming to their senses.
Right. No, it's Konami. They've not come to their senses. Why is only 12 people
playing our game? I don't know.
Don't even imply that Konami has come to their senses. That did not happen.
That's true.
But no, it's an interesting port. It still has some community attached to it. For a free-to-play Bomberman game, that sounded like the perfect combination for Bomberman was free-to-play. And I don't feel like it got the attention it deserved, but it also maybe didn't deserve the attention because it kind of feels half-assed for what should have been an easy win for Konami.
Yeah. Especially when it really is just kind of like, hey, we revamped Super Bomberman R.
And took away some features.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, it's weird.
A game that I never thought would see the light of day again, Neo, The World Ends With You.
Yeah.
World Ends With You got a remake.
Yeah, a sequel.
Is it a sequel? I don't know why I thought it was a remake.
Well, there was the remake on Switch a couple of years ago.
That's what I'm thinking of.
And then
this is the new one.
The new one was on Switch and PS4. And from what I have heard, it is good. It's another one I've not had a chance to even look at.
When the DS was out, people were like, that's the weird game.
Right.
That's strange. Also, and this is a total tangent, but I remember I worked at a game store when the DS was a thing still.
Sure.
And I was trying to decide if I wanted to get The World Ends With You or that one Konami action RPG about vampires. And it was not Castlevania. Or maybe it wasn't Konami. God, what was it? It was called like Lunar Nights?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's a part of the Boktai series, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah,
it's like a weird, like pseudo sequel to the Boktai games.
Yeah. No, it's the fourth title in the Boktai series.
And I got that and hated it.
But it has a Kojima Productions logo right on the front.
That's why I picked it.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, I know Kojima. I play Snake Eater. This is going to be great.
It's just Snake Eater, but with vampires, right?
Blaster Master Zero is a series that we keep like not paying attention to, and it keeps going.
Yeah.
And I love that Blaster Master is just still trucking on out there.
Well, this one is the end of the trilogy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I'd heard that this was like they're done after this. You know, which I keep meaning to try them all. I kind of hope they come in like a big physical collector's edition, like all three of them would be cool.
They did.
Have they announced that?
Yeah. I think LRG was taking pre-orders, and that's over now.
Oh, I hope I can get it somewhere that's not LRG. That'd be real nice.
No, I think LRG had the exclusive physical rights for it, and they already came and gone.
Great. I love that. That's what video games are now. You didn't pay attention for a second. Now you can never buy it.
I'm pretty sure it was in the news on our show one time a few months back.
Saturn, I don't know what's in the news, man. I just read the card. I don't.
My bad.
I don't write the news.
You don't,
all right,
you don't pay attention to what you're saying.
I report the facts. Castlevania Advance was a big one for us.
Yeah, I did.
We covered it on the show.
We
covered one of the games in it.
I finished all the games in that collection.
I keep wanting to go play Circle of the Moon because I didn't mention our holiday episode last episode,
week, yeah.
but for whatever reason I played a lot of Circle of the Moon one Christmas season.
Weird.
And it makes me, I have Christmas, I'm like, I need to play Circle of the Moon on my micro.
Oh.
And so maybe I'll get around to that. Monkey Ball came back.
Yes.
We got a new Monkey Ball, a remake of the original Monkey Ball.
Well, it's a collection of levels from the first two games, I believe.
Yeah, it's which really, you're there for the mini games. The Monkey Ball part is fun.
What?
You play it for a bit, and then you're like, now I'm gonna go play mini games.
I only play the mini games when other people are around. I mostly play the single player.
I'm there for the mini. I'm really just there for the pool.
Ah.
I play Monkey Ball pool all day long. Diablo 2 Resurrected came out. Everyone said it was all right. People seem to enjoy it, but it's also right in the middle of the Activision turmoil that is ongoing. So, is what it is. Alan Wake Remastered.
Yep, that was a good remaster, but it didn't really add anything to it. It's just, that game again, which I enjoyed the game the first time, so I enjoyed it the second time.
Then we kind of get into Microsoft land. Age of Empires 4, Forza 5, Halo have all come out recently and just continued their respective franchises, which I'm glad to see. Each of them seems to be a good entry in their respective franchises. Seems to be trucking along nicely at Microsoft. Really, the big holiday game from Nintendo is Metroid Dread.
Yeah, which we discussed in several episodes, really, but yeah.
And then what else do we have?
There was that
Pokemon
GTA
Diamond
trilogy.
And Pearl. GTA trilogy came out. People hated it. Thought it was trash.
Yeah, it was trash.
Pokemon Diamond and Pearl has been a big one for me. Shin Megami Tensei 5, which I'm still playing both of those games. Yeah. I know the Fatal Frame 5 remaster just came out that we talked about on our Fatal Frame episode.
And it's fine remaster. It's weird to adjust Wii U controls to not Wii U.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because in the original game, you were supposed to juggle the gamepad around and aim at things with the camera with it. And rather than just adding gyro controls, they were like, "Oh, what if you just used the triggers instead to rotate left and right?"
Oh boy,
why would you do that? Why is that the option?
And that kind of brings us into just sort of general discussion. I feel like release-wise, it was a solid year. Yeah. I don't know why I feel like Nintendo's first-party offerings were kind of weak this year. I know Metroid Dread has kind of been like the standout hit.
We had WarioWare. We had Mario Golf.
Not
Advance Wars got delayed until next year. There was a Pokemon game.
Yeah, just feels like kind of not bad. No. Not a bad year. I mean, those are good games.
There was also the Mario 3D World re-release.
Bowser's Fury.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, it just feels a little weak.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I enjoyed some of those games, but I don't feel like Nintendo has had as big of a year since 2017. That 1-2 punch of Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. I don't think they have reached that again. They've had great years since then. Don't get me wrong. There's been great games every year.
I mean, Mario Kart 8 keeps topping sales charts. Like they're fine. Yeah. But it's just as far as critically.
Yeah, it's been hard to compete with those two, and they keep teasing the Breath of the Wild sequel. They even showed a tiny clip of it during the Game Awards. But during a commercial for other things. So
right.
Yeah, it was fine. There was some okay stuff, but nothing really amazing from Nintendo.
Yeah. Microsoft, I feel, is I want to say knocking it out of the park, but realistically, they're just releasing good new games.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing about Game Pass is when they're when Age of Empires 4 or Halo Infinite or whatever comes out, it doesn't have to be the most radically amazing event of all time because it's on Game Pass.
Right.
I'm not paying $60. They don't got to sell me. They don't got to hype me. They just go, hey, here's another Forza. And I go, great. And I play it and I go, man, this is a really good Forza. And I play Halo and I go, man, this is a really good Halo. Right. It gives them that leeway of like, it doesn't feel like it needs to be this giant, bombastic, insane hype level event because they're like, well, if you got Game Pass, you're already getting the game anyway. So we're just going to release a pretty good game. You're going to enjoy it. And we're going to have a good time, What's
weird is I enjoy my Series X and I play it quite a bit. I can't think of any Microsoft first-party games I really care about. Not even one. Yeah.
This last quarter of the year has been big Microsoft for me. But really between Halo and Forza, I keep meaning to do Age of Empires, but Halo and Forza has been... Because also my D&D game is on hiatus right now. Yeah. November hit, and I was like, you guys, I'm too swamped with birthday and Thanksgiving and holidays and everything going on to worry about D&D. So we've just been playing Forza and Halo every Wednesday night. And it's just been a really good time. They're really good games. I've been enjoying them. Well, I have my problems with Halo multiplayer, but campaign-wise, I guess is what I'm saying. Not that we've played it multiplayer, because I don't think the multiplayer part of the campaign is out yet.
Great.
But I digress.
Yeah, I just can't think of any of their first-party games that really speak to me. They don't really have anything marketed towards me.
You didn't like Bug Snacks?
That's PlayStation.
Oh, is it? I don't know why I thought it was... What am I thinking on Microsoft? They've got they're bright, colorful
Banjo Kazooie?
No, it's what is it?
Blinks the Time Sweeper?
I'm just gonna say yes because I just like that you brought up Blinks the Time Sweeper, which is installed on my Xbox right now.
Nice.
Speaking of Sony, how we had like no Sony games on the list.
That's because neither of us own a PS5 yet. No, there were
but is there really even a ton of like PS5 exclusive stuff out yet?
Deathloop got a ton of attention, and it's a.
Oh, is that exclusive?
Yeah, it's published.
I didn't know that.
It's made by Bethesda, but it is a PS5 exclusive for now.
Oh, right. Microsoft's gonna get their money.
Yeah,
they're gonna get it.
Right. I can't remember what other huge PS5 exclusives there were, but I know there were a handful.
Does that mean that the most mentioned and celebrated PlayStation 5 game at the Game Awards was a Microsoft game?
Correct, yeah. And then the second highest recognized PS5 game at the Game Awards was Returnal, which is an internal Sony studio.
Yes.
And that one got some praise, but also some criticism for its extremely high difficulty, which seems to be a trend lately. Games are highly praised and also ludicrously difficult, and I'm hoping that trend ends in a few years, but we'll see.
I'll tell you who's not making ludicrously difficult games right now. Microsoft. Well, they still got easy modes.
Yeah, for the most part. And Microsoft's been really knocking it out of the park as far as accessibility goes, especially Forza 5. That was...
I guess, well, I was going to say, wasn't Ratchet and Clank, the new Ratchet and Clank
was
that's also
this year. Exclusive. Yeah, that one also did very well, accessibility.
Yes. And was critically well received. That was kind of there. I guess just wanted to mention Sony. It feels weird that we don't ever mention them, but they're
Well, I'm still looking for a PS5. I can't get
even
one.
Even if we wanted.
They don't exist.
Yeah, we couldn't get them. Yeah. And that brings us to kind of our the rest of the show outside of just what came out.
Yeah.
We're going to start with kind of modern stuff.
Yeah.
Starting with Pandemic Year 2, Electric Boogaloo.
There was still pandemic-y stuff.
If everything is still sold out.
Now, we're in America, so the pandemic is basically over. We can go where we want.
Oh, right. I forgot. It's done.
Yeah, it's basically over.
It's fine now.
But no, as far as like we can go places. Things are open. The big problem now is the shortage of product.
Yeah, it's tricky and it's kind of by state. Like there are some people on Discord that like it's worse in my state right now than it has ever been.
Yeah,
like, I'm not just because we're huge.
Right, I'm not
it's a huge
downplaying
country.
That there is not still a virus, and you should absolutely take care of yourself and protect yourself and your family against the virus. but I'm just saying, as far
a lot of parts of America are starting
for business again.
Open back up. Yeah. Chip shortages are ridiculous. Scalpers are still going on. Everything's selling out immediately to bots. People are going crazy about JPEGs on the internet. It's nuts. It's crazy pants town. It's insane.
It's just weird. And I can't believe that over a year after a new console release, you still can't just go to a store and buy it. That's so crazy to me.
And not even that, like, if it was just like, oh, hey, you just got to get there the day the shipment comes in or whatever, just like, not like crazy, but just like, hey, you gotta get there pretty quick.
No.
It's like
people are still camping out for those. It's crazy.
Nintendo just flat out said, they're like, we cannot make enough OLED Switches for this holiday season.
Yeah.
So prepare to blood in the streets.
Right.
Just prepare yourselves. It's going to get fucked all to shit.
Fortunately, they made some old model Switches available. Which is, I didn't think that they would still keep selling the standard model Switch after the OLED came out, but I guess so.
Well, also, it's kind of weird because internally it's the same.
Yeah.
It seems weird that they can't make specifically the OLED screen seems to be the problem, which is what it is.
Right.
But
or maybe it's the new kickstand. That's the part they can't get.
Oddly enough, the silicon in it, which is what the shortage is fine.
Yeah.
They're like, we got plenty of those. We can keep making Switches, just not that one.
Well, the weird thing is that NVIDIA discontinued the silicon for it.
Yeah.
Last year, I think. So whatever they have is what they're gonna have.
Well, but at the same time, NVIDIA has started re-releasing old GPUs.
That's true.
So maybe they're firing up old factories.
Who knows?
I don't fucking know what they're doing.
Right.
As far as modern stuff, cloud gaming is still a thing. Microsoft finally rolled out xCloud out of beta to the masses.
And it's gotten much better since they switched it from the Xbox One S back end to the Xbox Series X back end. I've noticed the stream is more stable. There's less lag. It seems more consistent now, and I appreciate that.
Google still has Stadia on life support. At this point, it's just sadistic.
Oh, man.
They're just being mean to it.
Going and looking at Stadia forums after the Game Awards was the funniest shit in the fucking world.
Yeah.
Because Google constantly advertised Google Play throughout the Game Awards and did not mention
Also, Amazon
Stadia.
Luna was there too. Which
Luna was
apparently
there.
still a fucking thing.
Yeah, who knew? Is it even out of beta yet?
I don't know. Why would I know that?
But no, they advertised Google Play a lot, even announcing Google Play for PC.
Yeah.
But they didn't mention Stadia, not once. And the executive at Google in charge of Stadia is on the Game Awards board of directors.
I feel like they're like, hey, do you want to mention your Stadia thing? And he's like, no, it's too embarrassing. Don't say anything. You know what I mean? Like, when your parents get you like new shoes and they want you to show them off to your family, and you're like, I don't want to. It's embarrassing. I don't like them. Google's new prescription shoes. Come on out, show everybody. Come on, show them.
They're orthopedic.
As far as hardware, the Steam Deck was revealed.
True.
Pre-orders opened. This is really kind of the big hardware news.
Right. They said it was going to start shipping in December, and they've since walked that back because of the same production issues
Shortages.
everyone else is having.
Yeah. Which still very exciting. Yeah. Has the potential to really kind of shake up PC gaming, I think. But more than that, SteamOS 3, I think, could put long term, like long tail in 10 years, I think could be more impactful than the deck itself.
I could see that.
Which is Steam really revamping and doubling down on Linux as a gaming operating system that they are focusing on as a corporation.
Which I can't blame them at all. With how
I can't blame them either.
With how aggressively
I'm sure they want away from Microsoft so fucking bad.
Yeah, with how aggressively Microsoft is pushing what they are now calling PC Game Pass, you can tell that Steam is worried that Microsoft is going to dissolve that market. So they want another OS to steer people to.
So I do think, a few years down the line after the Steam Deck is kind of old news or whatever, like I think SteamOS, really more than anything, I feel like the Steam Deck is kind of this Trojan horse for SteamOS. Yeah. It is the thing to convince developers like, hey, a lot of people are buying this hardware. You should develop on SteamOS.
Exactly.
And it's also getting a lot of consumers out there familiar with SteamOS in the Linux ecosystem, looking at these things, paying attention.
What worries me, though, is I fear that maybe they're a couple years late to make that big push, because now that there's all these exclusives on Windows Store and on EGS, I fear that a lot of the publishers are already signed into long-term deals that will prevent them from developing things for this. And so it could still end up fizzling out despite the big push.
Yeah, I could see that as well. Yeah. Really, PC gaming is in an annoying place right now.
Yeah.
is what I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like it's in a spot where we are on the verge. I think 5 years from now, it's going to look very different than it does now.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. I don't know how it's going to look, but it's going to be really different than it is right now.
Yeah, there's always that quote that people throw around where they basically attribute Gabe Newell to decreasing PC piracy because Steam is more convenient than piracy. And right now, with how fractured the PC gaming market is getting between all these different storefronts and launchers and bullshit, I'm worried we're going back to the piracy again.
Well, and this is the market in general right now. Just look at streaming services or like fucking soap subscription services or anything. Everything is just there's a million options for everything. And I feel like something has to consolidate at some point.
Yeah.
We're
going to need some kind of even if we have all these different marketplaces to buy things from, we're going to have to find some way to find some sort of common carrier to bring them to us, just so that we're not having to load 30 different apps to get to one thing.
Ubisoft and Activision have been revealed to... Well, I think Ubisoft might have been 2020.
I believe so, yeah.
But they continue to have not really fixed anything.
True.
They have massive internal issues. Activision is being sued by the state of California.
Right.
It is still
really
ongoing.
Every week it feels like there's more bad news about Activision.
And we said it when the lawsuit came out. It was like, hey, this is a big long-term lawsuit.
Yep.
A lot of shit is going to have to come to light.
Yep.
And so it's kind of really disheartening to think about the industry in general. Like this, because here's the thing, like Ubisoft happened.
Yeah.
And there was no big lawsuit or investigation.
No
They did their internal investigation, right? But there was no one suddenly going, hey, we need to pay attention to this and dredging up evidence that they were legally required to produce.
Right.
And then suddenly Activision is legally required to produce some of this data and some of these stories.
Well, these are also in different countries, so I don't know what kind of laws fall into place there.
But my point is that when an outside party is suddenly looking in on a game company, you start to see how real nasty this industry is.
Right?
It's nasty stuff.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that despite all these things coming out, in general, gaming media is still just ignoring it and acting like their games are so important that it is worth looking past all of this. And that, to me, feels pretty gross.
We've said it before and I'll say it again. It's entertainment media. You buy what you enjoy, you play what you enjoy, and never feel bad for making a purchase that you want. You know, that's your decision, and I'll always support people making their own decisions about what they want to purchase and support. But also, I think it's important to be aware of the issues and make an informed decision.
Right.
Know what's going on.
Exactly.
Know where your $60 is going for the bronze version that doesn't come with the battle pass or any of the DLC or microtransactions. If that's the version you want. I mean, I guess if you want to have the bad version, you can. But the platinum one's there. It's only $100.
Yeah. Well, Deluxe Platinum's only $200 though.
All right. The Deluxe Platinum. Smash Brothers Ultimate is finally over.
Yes.
It's done. It's finished.
Sakurai can rest now.
He can rest now. They're going to reinsert him into his cryogenic chamber.
No, his de-aging chamber, actually.
He's going to drag his IV drip down the hallway to the one twin bed they have in Nintendo headquarters.
He doesn't work at Nintendo. He works over at Sora.
Right.
I saw an interview with him this week where he said maybe he's taking on too much of the work of the series himself. Like, what? Really? You think?
Kudos to him for not only being such an influencing factor of the game's development, but also being the face of it. Because Smash Brothers, I try not to talk about fandoms, but Smash Brothers is a difficult fandom to be the face of, man. I'm sure he goes through the ringer dealing with people a lot of the time, you know. So good on him for that. And it's a great game. It's a great franchise. I'm glad to see it finally kind of come to a close, which means we can finally get Smash Brothers Ultimate Deluxe Ultimate Mega Platinum Plaid Edition or whatever.
I am just glad that Smash Ultimate is done and it does not have Goku in it. I am so glad that they did not convince Nintendo to break that one rule and put Goku.
Why'd you have to make me so? Well, break what rule? He's on a Nintendo platform.
The rule is it has to be a character that originated from a video game.
Well, all right. I didn't know that rule.
Yeah.
Actually, I did know that rule. I just always forget it. I always think he has to be on a Nintendo platform, but I forget. You're right. It doesn't have to be from a video game.
It doesn't have to be from a Nintendo platform because Cloud wasn't released on a Nintendo platform until after he was in Smash.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
Windows 11 announced and released. Continues to be a new version of Windows.
It continues to almost be done.
Yep, they're getting there. Any minute now, they're going to finish it.
Yeah,
they'll finish Windows 11 the day they finish Halo Infinite, apparently.
In fairness, Windows 10 wasn't really done until like 2 or 3 releases in.
Yeah, that one's still a little doughy in the middle.
Yeah, it's done now. I'm pretty happy with where Windows 10 is today.
Before we get into specifically retro stuff, video game movies this year. Mortal Kombat came out, and Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City.
I don't remember the Mortal Kombat movie at all.
Yeah, that's because that's about how memorable it was.
Oh, good.
The one guy playing Kano was memorable and funny, and then the rest of the movie was just like, oh man, this is bad. It was. Here's the thing, and I don't know if I said it at the time. It was a better movie than the old Mortal Kombat movies. But it was a less enjoyable movie than the old Mortal Kombat movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Christopher Lambert just being a doofus for like
Lambert.
2 hours. Like, that's fun. It's a piece of crap movie, but it's fun. But then the new one, it was like very well-made movie, but kind of bland. I didn't watch the new Resident Evil thing. Just came out.
Oh,
recently.
man. I want to see it so bad, but I hate going to theaters. So
is it? Because I just assumed it was like a straight-to-streaming thing.
No,
like
it's
in
theaters only, yeah.
Oh, man.
Sony has not even mentioned which streaming service it'll be on. So I assume Netflix, because Netflix is about to release that live-action Resident Evil series that Sony is co-producing. So I assume that once it has done its theatrical run, it'll end up on Netflix and I can watch it.
Let's talk retro stuff.
Yes.
Astro City Mini made its U.S. debut. It came out in very late December in Japan, and LRG offered it in the States.
For like a minute.
I only mentioned for like a minute. I was literally on my phone when it went live, and I was trying to buy it, and like the store was locking up.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was going to be a limited time thing. I thought it was one of those open pre-order things because you had mentioned it, and I pulled it up on my computer. And I was like, "There it is. I can buy it if I want to." And then I just moved on with my day and didn't look at it. And then you were like,
I didn't even want the Astro City from them because when they announced it, I went and bought it for less money than they were selling it for on Amazon Japan. It was here through their time portal in 2 days. I don't know how the fuck it gets from Japan to Texas.
I don't know, but it does every time.
I couldn't even book a flight and get myself to Japan that quickly.
Right.
I could not
presumably
do it.
They already have the flight booked for other merchandise. They're just adding your merchandise to that flight.
I'm just guessing that they just have a box with my name on it. They're just ready to ship. They're like, Justin ordered something. They just
put it in the box.
I ordered so many Digimon that they're like, it's that guy. It's the Digimon guy. Right. Mail it to him. I wanted the fucking stand for it. Sold out instantly. And then on their Twitter, they're like, yeah, we only had 100 of those. And I'm like, fuck off, LRG. How the fuck do you make this fucking deal and you only get 100 of something? What is wrong with you? Come on.
Those guys.
Anyway, Polymega came out.
Yeah.
We I don't feel like we called it vaporware, but we were very dubious about this making it to market. This has been a long road.
We did refer to it as the new Phantom console for a while there.
Well, yeah, but we also said that about the VCS, and man, we got it. We are eating our words tonight, huh?
Man.
Polymega came out.
Yep.
I feel like we announced this. We didn't announce anything.
Right.
We first
discussed
talked about this
really early in this show's run.
I want to say the same episode we mentioned the CD. Remember the CD?
That was really early. That was within our first dozen or 2 dozen episodes, I think, is when we first mentioned Polymega.
I still don't agree with how they got to where they are and the path they took and the way they treated the community along the way. But people seem to be enjoying their Polymegas, and more power to them. They're announcing new hardware with the N64 stuff, so obviously it's doing well enough that they're still developing, they're still selling. So and we've said from the beginning that if they can make it work, it could be a great system. Yeah. And they didn't make it work the way they said that it worked or the way they promised it would work, and then they ridiculed everyone for saying, "Hey, didn't you say it was this?" And they said, "No, we never said that." And then they were openly insulting, and then they just quietly made it not what they promised it was going to be. But I'm not bitter. I'm not holding any grudges.
No, certainly not.
But I'm glad it exists for what it is. I'll say that as kind of like a high end Retron 5.
Right.
I like that idea. And that's a solid idea.
And it has its store interface or whatever, and
true,
whatever it's doing there.
G4 relaunched. I don't even know what even is it. Is it? It's not a TV network
channel.
The whole channel came back.
Yes.
I'm sorry. G4 finally decides to come back, and they do it in 2021 as a cable channel.
Correct. I believe they also have a Twitch stream or something, but yes.
They did that before. They know how being a cable channel goes.
Correct, yeah.
I can't imagine they have more money to do it this time around.
Well, they're owned entirely by Comcast now instead of just partially by Comcast.
Okay.
But it's still a cable channel that came back in November of 2021.
That's fucking weird. That's just the weird. If you had told me any cable channel just came out as a new cable channel, I'd be like, why? Much less G4.
Yeah, you can stream it on Twitch. You can see it on Philo streaming television if you subscribe to Philo, or you can get it on Comcast Xfinity or Verizon Fios.
I'm not going to pay any of those companies for any of that shit.
But Twitch, you can watch it on Twitch.
.emu was purchased by Focus Entertainment. There were a lot of big acquisitions this year, but this was kind of the big one for us, for retro gaming.
Goes,
You know, one of the big ones. .emu puts out lots and lots of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And hopefully they continue to get to do so.
Yeah, seriously. Focus Entertainment has done some shady stuff in the past, too, so I'm not a big fan of them. Mm-hmm. If you... The one that I remember was the Sinking City. I think that was them that they kind of pulled funding from the company making that halfway through and ended up making that whole game kind of a mess. Yeah. So I'm worried about that.
Yeah. As far as hardware, honestly, more hardware news here than in modern gaming.
Right.
Analog Pocket and Duo news. The Pocket is allegedly shipping out just a few short days after we record this, after a few delays.
Yes.
And they are also, Analog is opening, then it's, unless you're on the Uncut, it's already happened. You've missed it. I'm sorry. But another round of pre-orders opens on December 4th.
Today's the 10th.
Yeah, so on Uncuts, we'll hear this. They'll hear it tomorrow when it goes up.
Tomorrow is not the 4th. The 4th was last week.
Oh, the 14th.
Oh, okay. There we go.
I'm sorry. I forgot a 1, and then I read it the way I wrote it.
Okay.
The 14th.
Okay,
Saturday. They're going to go back in time and do pre-orders. This is how they're going to fuck you this time. They did it in the past. They already did it. December 14th. Right. I don't know what date it is. We've recorded so much. I'm sorry.
That's why I said it out loud.
They've increased the price to $219. Right. They're doing it. They basically are like, hey, we're doing pre-orders. It's going to come out in waves. And they've kind of this next set of pre-orders. Judging by the way they've announced it, it seems like this next set of pre-orders is going to be releasing through 2023. Oof. So that would imply that they have very limited production on this for now. I'm assuming due to extreme shortages and issues in either. I assume that's also what the price increase was about. No sign of the Duo or any word from Analog that I can find about when to expect it, when pre-orders are going to happen, any more details about it. But hopefully the Pocket starts hitting people's mailboxes sometime soon, and these pre-orders will be going out sometime next year.
And once people get the Pocket, I want to hear what Analog OS even is. Just
I looked at it. It really is just firmware.
Yeah, I got that much, but they got such a big announcement that I have to know why.
What I do like, the one thing I do like is, and this was a feature on the Wii, it tracks your playtime and play sessions.
Yeah.
So you can open a calendar and be like, hey, what was I playing on September 2nd? It'll tell you your game and your duration, which is the dumbest feature, but I checked it on my Wii all the time. I love having that like game journal.
I both love and hate that feature because I love it that I can go back and look and see, I played this then, and I played this for so many hours, and this was my most played game. But then I also hate it because I'm like, I forgot to turn on this console for 5 months. Why do I own this?
Because now, 6 months later, you're playing it.
Yeah, right.
And you're glad you have it. So Analog kind of in a weird spot. They've been struggling to restock, to manufacture. I think they were in the unfortunate position of biting off a little more than they could chew given the pandemic.
Right.
And they had these things in the works before it all happened.
Right.
You know, they had already had to pull the trigger on a lot of things, I imagine. And then they were like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
we're screwed.
Right.
I do wish they would be like the links of silences from them. It's just to like talk to us about the duo, please. Say something. At least
acknowledge
give me
that it is or is not still a thing.
Because with the way manufacturing's working with them, it's going to be up for pre-order for 1 second on one day, and then you're going to get it a year later. So if someone wants it, at least give me like, hey, we're hoping to have pre-orders for it sometime in Q1 2022. Right. And then I know for those few months, I follow you on Twitter and I can pay attention. And, you know, because right now...
But they want you to follow them on Twitter all the time.
Yeah, I know. Well, because the way everything's going right now, it's like that LRG thing earlier where it's like, man... I feel like I have to pay attention to literally everything I like or I'm going to miss it all because everything's so limited right now.
Yeah. FOMO's getting us, man.
It's tough, dude. It's real tough. Speaking of FOMO, Atari VCS came out in June and according to Atari, sold out instantly.
Except for it was back in stock on Black Friday.
On Black Friday, they were like, except for these ones.
Yeah.
These are the ones that didn't sell, but the rest of them sold out instantly. Yeah. And I've not even heard anyone fucking mention this thing.
Yeah, and the thing is that it did sell through a lot of its stock the first run because the retailers that had it in the area did run out of units. But I don't think they had very many to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And I've not heard of anyone who owns one. I've not met anyone who owns one. We run a Discord server filled with old video game fans. Nobody bought one.
Yeah, nobody.
At least were like, nobody said that they bought it anyway.
There were a few people, and I was kind of in that camp where I was like, hey, if I can get it for like $100, like Ouya style on the bottom shelf at Target, like, yeah, I'd go in for, why not? Do something with it.
Right. If nothing else, it would be neat to have a Bluetooth Atari controller.
True.
But,
yeah. The Evercade Versus, it's not out yet. Comes out in January. But it was announced. They've got like preview units out. There's YouTube videos of it. We talked about it the other day. I'm kind of slowly becoming more and more impressed with how the Evercade is doing. One, how they're still making it. Two, how it continues to be successful. And three, how they keep. I mean, obviously it's selling because they're still licensing stuff.
Right.
The Versus that comes out in January comes with a Data East cartridge and a Technos cartridge. Yeah, and I'm like, man,
there's some good games on it. And not like all the best games or anything, but there are some solid titles on there.
Right. And so I'm and there's like newer games on like Xenocrisis is on it.
And some games older games were had some modifications from their original versions for the Evercade version. So
it's really making me look at one of these Versus consoles. They're I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
And they're cheap enough. Like $130 gets you like the Versus and like 2 cartridges. And I'm like, hell, like I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Game & Watch Zelda came out in November. Somehow still came out. Somehow still hit its deadline.
There's a bunch of them on the shelf at the.
I think it's somehow still available. Yeah, I suspect just based on available stock, that's going to be the last one of these we see for sure.
Yeah, the Target that I went to the other day. Last weekend, they had a whole shelf of Mario Game & Watch and a whole shelf of Zelda Game & Watch right there.
Yeah,
and they're both still full price.
I think we're done with these.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Nintendo's gonna keep doing them. And I put it in the wrong category, but I did want to mention game conventions and expos continue to be online events. E3, TGS, QuakeCon, Gamescom, GDC, they were all online events.
Yeah, I think Game Awards was the first big one that was not online only this year.
It was funny. Jeff Keighley comes out and he's like, I'm so glad we could all be here in person for the Game Awards. And it pans out and like half the seats are empty.
Yeah.
It was just so goofy, that moment.
I mentioned it in the chat to the people that were watching it with us, but when Metroid Dread won Best Action Adventure Game, and Doug Bowser went up on the stage, and he's given his statement about how hard the team worked and how happy they are for the fans and all that normal stuff that they say. He sounded like somebody's dad doing an impersonation of Reggie Fils-Aimé. And then, like 30 minutes later, here comes Reggie Fils-Aimé to talk. And Reggie is doing his bit, and I'm like, that's exactly the mannerisms that Doug Bowser was doing a few minutes earlier.
Doug Bowser making fun of him?
But but Reggie looked like he was being more open and human now than he used to be.
Right.
So it looked
because I think Reggie really embraced his persona at Nintendo, which good on him for it. Like it was good marketing, whatever. Do you think that maybe Doug Bowser just got the job because they're like, we need something to replace Reggie, and he came in and just did an impression? They're like, he's just like Reggie, so now he feels the need, like he has to go in every day and be Reggie. Yeah.
It was so weird.
Every day at work, he's like, my body is ready. And they're like, stop saying it. That's,
No, it was like, it was Reggie's hand motions and speech patterns, but in the body of like someone's dad. And it's just really awkward. And if you can go find that acceptance speech from Metroid from the Game Awards, you might see it too. I hope I'm not crazy there, but it just seemed so weird.
I gotta go watch it. Yeah.
Anyway.
As far as just kind of general gaming events, Lucasfilm Games came back.
Yeah, and it looks like so far they're just going to make Star Wars and nothing else.
Great.
Which is weird because LRG reprinted Zombies Ate My Neighbors this year, and I don't think they put the new Lucasfilms Games logo on it. Maybe they did, actually. No, I think they did. So there's that one thing. It's Zombies Ate My Neighbors and Star Wars games.
Much to my delight, Microsoft bought ZeniMax.
Yep.
And I'm still okay getting Microsoft games, so I'm okay with that because now they're on my Game Pass. Now I don't have to pay money. I'm excited for that one. I like that one. I like ZeniMax properties, I will say. I don't like the company.
I liked ZeniMax's budget games in the PS1 era. They used to have a company that they ran called Mud Duck. And
they were aiming for the stars, huh?
Yeah.
Mud Duck.
Mud Duck released some great $10 PS1 games, let me tell you. If you were in the market for some $10 PS1 games, if you saw that Mud Duck logo, you knew that was going to be almost worth $10.
Mud Duck sounds like a maneuver a bully does on you that involves his feces.
I'm going to give you a Mud Duck.
Where he just, I don't know what it is, but it involves poop, and he does it to you, and you don't want it.
Yeah, the logo for Mud Duck was the stupidest logo anyone's ever used. It's just so dumb. I recommend that people look for it. But that's my favorite era of ZeniMax was when they still made Mud Duck games. And then they just went full Bethesda, and I stopped caring so much.
Epic fought Apple in court. Apple won 9 of the 10 counts. Epic has appealed. This will go on for years, I promise.
Many years.
Netflix wants to make video games,
and they bought.
Why not?
They bought at least one video game studio now.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't mean to end on this.
You always mean to end on this.
But I did want to mention some kind of notable deaths. We lost Bew, which was
what they were going by, and their reviews.
Yeah, in the end. But I mean, if you're in the retro gaming space, you know the name Bew for their work on emulation and preservation. And so that was a horrible tragedy and just a horrible story when it all came out. It was just the worst.
Yeah, just
that one hurt.
Right.
Koichi Tsugiyama also passed away. Hiroshi Ono, the Namco artist. Uemura, who we talked about last episode. Clive Sinclair, who founded Sinclair Computing and did the ZX Spectrum and all that stuff. Several other notable video game people. Those are just the big ones that sprang to mind.
Right.
And I really didn't want to end on that.
Yeah,
that's the end.
Good job.
As far as final thoughts, 2021.
I don't want to end on that. Anyway, so let's wrap this up.
It's over. 2021 was a weird year.
Yeah.
I don't think even in 2020 any of us expected to be where we are as a world. I will say that things are still challenging out there right now. A lot of industries are being affected. A lot of jobs are being affected.
Right.
There's a lot of uncertainty. Please be kind to one another.
Indeed.
Be understanding of one another.
And I hope that this time next year we're not saying the exact same thing about 2022. But
I think 2022 is gonna. This is my. Now we're getting into predictions. Mm-hmm. I think 2022 is gonna crank up the weirdness to a level that I'm telling you. I've said it like 4 times tonight. NFTs, man.
So
when 2022 in review, this is my prediction. Someone remind me in a year, 2022 in review, I'm going to be like, man, would NFTs just fuck off? That's what this is going to be.
I'm already thinking
December
that,
impression.
So let me ask you this prediction. This time next year, do you think you can walk into a store and buy a PS5 or Xbox Series X?
I think... I honestly, and this is my cynical take, I think that what has happened has taught companies that they can ride that launch hype forever by underproducing. And here's the thing, that I think people don't think about. If you are producing a physical good in America, the one thing you never want it to do is sit somewhere.
Right.
You want to make the exact number that you're going to sell, period. That's the magical Christmas land dream of every corporation.
Just-in-time production.
Yeah, they want to make exactly the number they're going to sell. Because if it's sitting in a warehouse, you're paying for it to sit in a warehouse. Right. Because you don't sit in a warehouse for free, and you don't own the warehouse because it has to be in distribution to get where it needs to be. So, I think it will get better and things will improve because, one, I think people will either get theirs because they're still making them, lots of them, I imagine.
And they say they've sold more than they have in previous generations, too.
People will get theirs, the hype will slow down, but I think these companies are going to be saying, hey, man, it sure was nice that we were selling every single unit immediately and losing no money in distribution and stuff sitting in warehouses. Can we ride that forever? Yeah. Can we just lower production a little bit and just ride that into the sunset?
Which I kind of feel Nintendo has already been doing.
Oh yeah, they've been doing it. Yeah. They've been manufacturing FOMO. They did it from a different angle. They got there. They came to the same conclusion, but it's
they didn't need a pandemic they got there to get there.
But I feel like Sony's sitting there right now being like, hey man, we still have this like that mythical first couple months of hype where everyone wants it and no one can get it. And the second you see it, you're like, fuck it. I've known multiple people that at this point that have impulse bought PlayStation 5s because they're like, I fucking saw it and I could get it and it was there and I got it. And it's like, man, I mean, granted, they were probably looking for it, but it was like they didn't go out planning to buy a PlayStation 5.
But now simultaneously, I feel like it's also because there's so many people still wanting those consoles that can't get them. I feel like it's extended the previous generation a little bit longer than it would have originally. Now, Microsoft has no more Xbox One games announced. Everything else that is on their slate is Series X and S only. Yeah. I don't think that's the case for Sony. I think they have a couple more games they said that are going to be PS4 and PS5. But my big fear is the lesson that they might learn from this is people are paying $800 for a PS5 on eBay. Yep. Why don't we launch our next console at $800?
Yeah, exactly. You know, and so I don't know. I feel like there are lessons being learned that we're not going to enjoy in the long run.
My fear is that those lessons are going to hurt the industry in the long run too, because it will diminish some of the user base.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like the line between these generations was going to be blurry no matter what.
Yeah.
The same way it was kind of blurry between the last two. Although even this one, because both Sony and Microsoft's new consoles are very backward compatible. Yeah. It's even blurrier this time. I feel like it was just going to be that way. I don't know.
Dumbest marketing move this year, in my perspective, is
that's shocking because there's a lot of NFTs out there right now.
Right.
What a statement! The dumbest one of the year. Let's hear it.
Stadia. So,
yeah,
they had the absolute perfect opportunity. You couldn't find a PS5 in a store. You couldn't find an Xbox Series X in a store, and you could use your existing controllers to play Stadia on a computer. You just find an old laptop, hook it up to your TV, and plug in a controller, and now you have a new console. And they already had some of the games that were on these new consoles. They had Cyberpunk, they had Resident Evil 8. They just needed to spend more money to, one, advertise and tell people what the fuck it is, because nobody knows what it is, and two, get more games on it.
What frustrates me is they paid a lot of money for these Stadia commercials that are out there.
Well, that first
high production
6 months they did
with celebrities in them. and then it's like that was it.
And then they just let it die.
Like, obviously, you were willing to put the money in at some point,
right?
Like what? Whatever the opposite of a sunk cost fallacy is, Google operates on that.
And somebody had mentioned that because they had this promotion for the holidays this year where you could get the Stadia controller with a Chromecast for $22. And when they were arriving at people's houses, the barcode has production date on it, and all of them were still production date from launch. And so they're still selling launch units now. So my guess is the physical hardware sold so poorly at launch that Google just gave up all the marketing budget and decided they weren't putting money in it anymore, which is the dumbest thing, because this was the device where you didn't need to sell hardware. It was a service. They just needed to pitch it as a service, especially during a pandemic when hardware is hard to find. And they failed to do that. They could have really taken advantage of this situation in a way that their competitors couldn't. And they chose not to, probably because Google is just a tiny company and doesn't have any money for that.
They're just this indie, Silicon Valley startup. Just fucking calm down, Saturn.
They're just
all
a
right,
little company. They can't do that.
Expect this shit. I don't know. It's I just don't know what to think anymore. I don't know how things are going to look.
Yeah.
It's we're in a weird spot.
You know, I like how a minute ago you were like, well, I don't want to end the show on a downer, and then we've gone further down from there.
It's great. I love video games. This is great. You know what? You know what it's going to be a good year for? It's going to be a good fucking year for emulation.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people like you and me sitting around being like, man, I don't want to fight for this shit. I don't want to wait for this shit. I don't want to stand in the lines. I don't want to have to do all this stuff. Like, no.
Yeah, we have
give me
seen
the games.
Good advances in emulation in the previous years, and it looks like we're going to continue to see good advances in emulation. That's what I'm excited about going forward, and especially with how easy it is to get into dev mode on a Xbox Series X or S, and people are playing with RetroArch on there and finding neat things they can do with RetroArch on the Xbox. I'm for that. That's another easy set-top emulation box that people can use. So
I'm excited for handhelds. This is the season for handhelds. Steam Deck is coming up. Those Chinese Android handhelds, they're like a dime a dozen right now. Yeah. Those things are continuing to improve in quality. The Analog Pocket, some of them are going to release anyway. Right. It's handheld season, and I'm ready. I'm Elmer Fudd, and handheld season is open. I'm ready for some West and relaxation.
God damn it.
I don't know why I got weird with that. But I'm also going to get weird with this, which is our Patreon. You can find it at patreon.com/retrowarriors, where you can get uncut early access to the show, where this month we recorded 6 episodes in 3 weeks. It's insane. You can listen to us for like 6 hours.
If you want Justin to get weird with you, just go to patreon.com/retrowarriors.
I promise. You'll find a lot of weird shit there. Like talking lizards. Very weird shit going on there. So I hope you'll consider supporting the show. Patreon.com/retrowarriors. Also rate and review us. That would be really great. Yeah. And I have a review for these people, which is that they're great because they support us on Patreon. And we're going to thank them now, starting with Logan Sharp.
And William Owens.
Mark Bowler.
And Jason Frudnick and his frog Fred.
Our producer, Guy.
David Nethery.
Chuck Angeline.
Adam Williams.
Chris Forbes.
And Blaster Keaton.
Are all the people that we want to thank
with
this episode that I'm going to get weird with. That's my getting weird voice.
It's a good thing we're going to take a break right after this, right?
I think I have to at this point. I don't think I could do another one of these this year. It would just be completely off the rails. Right? The rails wouldn't even, it'd be rail-less. They wouldn't even be there to be on.
Next week we'll be back to something closer to our normal format.
Yeah, if you're on the regular feed, next week's going to be hopefully us being like, man, what a refreshing break.
That's how the holidays always are for you, right?
Yeah,
they're just a refreshing break.
A refreshing break. That's like a cool fresca. You know,
if
the
anyone,
diet grapefruit soda.
If anyone managed to make it this far into the episode, let us know how much you enjoy your cool Fresca.
Anyway, we hope your 2022 starts well. We hope that you made it out of 2021. Wow. And I guess we'll see you on the other side, right? Because we're in the past, you're in the future, and we'll see what it's like. I hope it's good. I hope we got those jetpacks we all been waiting on.
And power gloves.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us cling together.